Hello everybody and welcome to my June reading vlog. It's already June. I'm starting this vlog on a very positive note because I have here in my hands the first book I've finished and which was a 5-star read. The Idiot by Elif Batuman. This book seems to split the waters and I was very skeptical going into it because of that reason, but I felt like this book spoke to my linguistic heart. I'm a language teacher and this book is about a college student who kind of lives in her own bubble, and she might appear as an idiot to some people in the world around her. That's because she observes the language of people, she observes cultures and how people behave, and she tries to compare them, and I just was fascinated by that. I love language, I love culture, and I love all the nuances that we get when it comes to how we speak and what we mean. So I was in love with this from the very beginning till the very end. I'm definitely going to miss our main character, who was quite the idiot, but in an adorable way, I think. And the romance worked really well, and the connections between her observations, which keep reappearing. It was just a very well-crafted book, I think. So this was an amazing start to what is hopefully going to be an amazing reading month. This book is by the beloved Cormac McCarthy. It's All the Pretty Horses, and it's a book that has won the National Book Award. It's a book that's very cherished all around America and around the world, and I didn't like it one bit, which surprises me a lot. I did like what was happening in the beginning. We are thrown into a setting of America, a western. It's about horses, and it's about two young boys who decide to desert their family and whatever is happening around them and go to Mexico. So that part was intriguing. The rest of it I did not care for. I have found out since then, this is my first book by Cormac McCarthy, that he is an author who likes to write in a very minimalistic way with no punctuation whatsoever. That's okay if that works for him, but I had a very difficult time finding out who was talking whenever there was a dialogue, and it annoyed me. The story in itself was just it felt like he was trying to throw together all of these epic themes of horses and a western story, a western setting, romance and gun shooting, and create a story out of it. And I just felt very much detached from it from almost the very beginning, and I actually skim read the last 40 or 50 pages. So yeah, not a book for me. I don't know yet, but I think I'm going to give it 1 or 1.5 star. That's how much I didn't really like it. I am done reading this story about Vikings and just a fantasy book. This is Sky in the Deep by Adrian Young. It's a young adult novel that was released pretty recently, and I was intrigued to read it because it's about Vikings and it's kind of described as Wonder Woman, which I have no idea if that is correct because I haven't watched or read Wonder Woman in my life ever. But basically this book was good. I mean, you shouldn't have too high expectations, which I didn't. There were some faults that I found with the plot and the world building especially. This is a very short book and I felt like this world of Vikings and violence needed to be described a lot more. I would have loved for even more characters to be in the story. But nevertheless, I did enjoy it a lot and I gave it 3 stars. So I think it's definitely worth a read. It's one that really allowed for me to escape into another world, and that was quite fantastic. I am currently in Copenhagen because tonight is Friday, today is Friday, and tonight I'm going to watch the stand-up show with Trevor Noah, so that's pretty exciting. Basically, I decided to treat myself with an overnight stay at this hotel. So I thought that I would show you the hotel and then afterwards also show you what I'm currently reading. You come in through this door, this is the bed. So this is where I'm going to lie reading all night probably. And you can already see what I'm currently reading, which is Save the Date by Morgan Matson, a very new release. Then we have the bathroom, which is pretty standard. Here I am, and with a shower, so that's not too exciting. Then we have a small table, and actually I'm super excited about the fact that I have a TV, because at home I don't have mainstream TV, so I get to watch all the TV tonight, which is so exciting after the show, obviously. And then we have a small window, and it is currently 26 degrees Celsius outside, so that window will stay open throughout the night, I think. So this is exciting. I have an hour now to relax and read in my book and maybe watch a little bit of television. I am almost halfway through this so far, and it's a fun read, so this is perfect for this very relaxing Friday afternoon slash night. Shoes off in bed, obviously. I could get used to this. So let's see if I can do this while being in focus. I think I've now filmed this review 3 times, or at least twice, and I just wasn't satisfied. I am finished with Save the Date by Morgan Matson, and I was very disappointed. I gave it 2.5 stars. I did find it enjoyable enough to finish, but I also did find the plot to be very silly and predictable, because it read like a comedy to me, in which a lot of things have to go bad in order for the plot to move forward. We are at a wedding, and our main character is Charlie, who is trying to make everything go perfectly for her sister's wedding. Things don't go perfectly, that's all I'm going to say. Everything went so wrong all the time that it became very unrealistic towards the end. I didn't like it. What I did love, however, are the comic strips that make part of the story. I'm trying to find one now to show you. They are placed throughout the book, and they were original and very interesting to read about. So those ones I loved, and I also loved reading about the characters and the family. But other than that, this was very predictable and I didn't really like it, so I'm a little bit disappointed, but that's how things go sometimes. This book took me by surprise, because I have been putting off reading it for several weeks. I was very daunted by it. It is, by the way, The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gowar. It's a heavy book, it's historical fiction, and it's about mermaids, and for those reasons I wasn't sure I was going to absolutely love it. But then for some reason, last week I decided to actually pick it up and start reading. And from the very first chapters, I knew that this book was something special. Not because it's a beauty, but also because the chapters were written fluently and very accessibly. And the plot was very intriguing. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the actual plot, but I will say this is more of a story about Mr. Hancock and a woman, a whore called Angelica, and then the mermaid serves as a connection to those people so that we get to know them, but the actual mermaid is more of a background part of the story, and I love that. This is one of those books that had some scenes in it that I had to stop my reading and write down, because they were memorable, they were funny, they were excellent, and I just had to write them down and remember them in the future. Needless to say, I love this book. I think it deserves all the hype that it's getting, and I gave it 5 stars. I just could not give it 5 stars. It's one of those books that is a beauty on the outside as well as on the inside. I was honestly expecting to love this book, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I read her Circe, which I have right here, last month and loved it. This one was rather a disappointment because I quickly realized that I didn't like the writing, and that was because the sentences in the book are very short, simple and declarative. While there's nothing wrong with that, it felt too sloppy in my eyes. There's actually one point in the story where it goes from the present tense to the past tense in the middle of a story that is chronological, so it's not a flashback, and I couldn't see the reason why. And then one page later it goes back to a present tense without any reason to jump back in that past tense. It felt sloppy to me, but the plot was good. It's a love story between Achilles and Patroclus. Is that how you pronounce his name? It was a beautiful relationship they had. And the Trojan War is also part of this book. So I was gratified in the end. I liked reading about the love story, but I actually did go back to this book and see if the writing was the same, because I didn't remember that sloppy writing when reading this one and giving it 5 stars. So, and it is the same kind of very simple writing. I don't feel like it's a 5-star book anymore, and not just because of the writing but also because of the plot. So I did downgrade this book to a 4-star read, and this book I ended up giving 3 stars. I got my cup of coffee, and I also got myself a new tripod, which I am trying out now. It's one of those mini ones so that I can place it wherever I want, whenever I want. This is kind of tilted. I just got home from work and I'm ready to pick up my next read, which is waiting for me on my nightstand. Can you see it down there? This is the book. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think it's going to be quite a hilarious and different and refreshing kind of read. So I am excited. But I might just watch an episode of Unbreakable Kimmy Smith before I get started on the book. It is no, it's not Thursday, it's Wednesday morning, and it is time for a coffee. By the way, I do have a book to talk about. I'm just not going to do it until I have my coffee brewing. The question is, what mug do I choose today? I have quite too many. I think I'm just going to go for a regular one today. While my coffee is brewing, I might just tell you about the book that I finished last night, which was so interesting. This is the book The Humans by Matt Haig, my first read of his, and this is about an alien who is put on Earth to complete a mission. And that premise is maybe somewhat silly, but what I loved about this book is how the alien observes the humans, which is a very weird and peculiar race, I must admit. These observations were spot on, and they were also thought-provoking. The alien observes things like, why do we wear clothes? Why do we spend so much time of our lives doing things that we don't really want to do? And then intertwined with these observations, we also get a story about the alien's journey on Earth and how he comes to I'm not going to spoil too much, but how he comes to form a relationship with humans. Super adorable. I gave this book 5 stars. That's how good I thought it was, and I think I'm just very much in love with books that have these types of observations on people or on language, because you might remember that I recently read this book and loved it as well. This one has more of observations on language, and That was the selling point for me. So I think my coffee might be ready now. This is happiness in a mug. While I'm at it, I might just as well tell you about the book I plan on picking up now, because June and July are months in which I don't have a lot of work. This month I do have some exams, but I also have a lot of spare time to wake up late and read in my book and then go to work later in the day. So that is great. So that means I do have time now to read in a new book before I have to head to work. And the book I've been thinking of reading is this one, which I've had my eyes on for quite some time now. It's a non-fiction book and it's going to be so educating, I think. So this is going to be interesting. I am now going to read this book, at least begin it, and then drink my delicious coffee, and then I will be all ready for work. So Zeus and I are about to unbox this glorious box of books. Look out for my book haul on my channel. I will put a link to it down below. Zeus is very excited, right Zeus? Yeah. Okay, let's open it. Oh, that's a camera. Zeus, don't block my view. You want to join? Okay. Oh. Zeus. Zeus. Where are you? Zeus. Anyway, wow, I have to Instagram this. Just one moment. Hi Zeus. Oh. Yes, Zeus, we will get to it. Okay, now to the fun part. I think this is the first time I have ever smelled a book that didn't smell that good. You know, I don't like it. Wow. So many damn books. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Ooh, deckled edges. I love it. Ooh. Look at that pile. This makes me so happy, and it's Friday, so I think I have enough reading now to do this weekend. Just kidding, I'm not going to make it to all of these books, obviously. But then again, who knows, maybe I will. I'm ready to talk about another book I have read this month, which was Educated by Tara Westover. I love this book a lot. It is a non-fictional piece of work about a woman who grew up in a family in Idaho which believed that the world would end and they had to prepare for that. They also didn't believe in government and they didn't believe in education, so they sent none of their children to school, and then one of those children is Tara herself, writing about her experiences, trying to grow up and maybe get out into the world and see for herself what it's all about. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but I thought that the writing was consuming, if that's even a word. She writes in a way that makes it seem like fiction, and I had to stop myself at times and remind myself that this is actually non-fiction. So the writing was really compelling. The account itself was scary, so scary, so that I don't know really how to process it still. But I will say though that I loved it a lot. I think I gave it 4.5 stars on Goodreads, but I will say that compared to this book, this is better and it's deeper and just overall a better read. So I think I'm going to change my opinion, which I've done a lot this month, but this book is getting a 5 stars from me, and then I'm going to downgrade this one to 4.5. They are both very different, so I'm not trying to compare them in any way, but my feelings on this book have changed, whereas this one was just brilliant and it's growing on me. It has been growing on me since I wrote my review this morning, so I'm going to change that. And then very quickly, I want to mention that I have picked up The House of Leaves. This is finally happening. I've been wanting to read this book since I started my channel, I believe. Now I finally have it in my possession and it's happening. So I have all of this weekend off from work, from doing anything besides from reading and relaxing. So hopefully this is going to bring me a lot of thrill and a lot of creepiness, which I'm in the mood for. Last night was the night that I finished this gigantic book, and it was quite a reading experience. I will start out with saying that I gave it 3.5 stars. It didn't creep me out as much as I thought it would. By the way, this is obviously House of Leaves by Mark C. Danielewski. It's a book that has caught a lot of people's attention, especially on BookTube. I was intrigued to read it. I have been for years and years. Now I have, and as I said, I didn't think that this horror story was as scary as I was expecting, but there are so many layers to the book. My description of it on Goodreads is only the top of the iceberg. I will try to cover a little bit of it here. Basically, it's 2 parallel stories. The story about the House of Leaves, which is a haunted house, and then this family moves into the house and realizes that it's haunted. And then it's the story of the editor of this book, or the reader of the book, and how he kind of starts living a life that is parallel to this story, so that things that happen in the House of Leaves start happening in his life as well, which is kind of scary, very creepy, I will admit that. This reader of the House of Leaves book grows more and more schizophrenic and paranoid, and it's just a very bizarre reading experience. I will give it that. 3.5 stars. I could talk a lot about this book. I read it in the weekend. Even though it's a huge book, it does have some rather blank pages, but it also has its share of very complete pages. So it was an interesting read. I was surprised that I read it as fast as I did, but anyway. And then this morning I picked up this one, so I guess I'm in for another story about crime and horror and thriller, but I think that's what I'm in the mood for these days. And then last but not least, let me show you the current stack of books on my nightstand, which is looking so nice. I am ready for summer. I'm ready for diving into all of these stories, starting with In the Woods by Tana French. I finished what is going to be my last book of the month, and that is In the Woods by Tana French, which is a crime story. And you might know I'm not much of a crime reader, but I was in the mood for one this summer, and I definitely got my share of this genre. So this book was really good. I was intrigued from beginning to end. I will say there were some passages that were a little bit dragging when it came to the investigation, but even those passages kept me intrigued enough to want to know all the details and really get to know these characters and how they unravel during this case. I think I was very intrigued also because, as I said, I'm not much of a crime reader, and this is kind of a new genre to me, so I really had to be focused and alert while reading, and I like that. So I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to read the second book in the series, which I have heard is even better, and I will end up saying that I loved the partnership between Cassie and Ryan. That was my favorite part of the book. But that is basically it for this reading blog. I hope you enjoyed it, and until my next one, which will most probably be a weekly reading vlog because of my July videos, you might know all about it already. But until then, have a great day and happy reading.